Hello everyone and welcome to the first edition of Sony Vegas Basics. Now Sony Vegas Basics is pretty much a walkthrough for beginners to Sony Vegas. And what I'll be covering today in Sony Vegas Basics Part 1 is cleaning the workspace for the average user, starting a new project, tips about the timeline, inserting video, and rendering video. Anyway guys, let's jump into Sony Vegas and let's get this started. Alright, now that we're in Sony Vegas, you may be a little confused with the layout. Now that's okay. I was confused when I first used Sony Vegas, but it takes some time to learn the layout. Now, there is one window that you can get rid of because you won't be using it for professional video editing, so it doesn't really matter. This is just for beginners. Now, the middle box here you can get rid of between the video preview and the project media. You can just go up here and click the X button. If you accidentally close one of the other windows that you want to keep, such as the video preview, I'm just going to click X as an example here and it's gone and you don't know what happened to it. Go up to the View, go to Windows Layout, and go to Default Layout. Now everything will be back to normal the way it was when you installed the program. So I'm just going to click X on the one that is in the middle, and we're going to move on to starting a new project. Now, starting a new project is fairly easy. It's pretty much universal for every program, Control N or File New. So I'm going to click Control N on the keyboard, and this will bring up our new project window. Now, there is a special feature that you need to keep in mind, and it's very important for Sony Vegas. Now, there is this little folder up here in the corner beside the Delete and Save button. It is the Match Media Settings. Now, Match Media Settings matches the settings for rendering based upon the settings on your video. In other words, it just pretty much matches the same qualities as your video. So all you need to do is click the folder and browse for your video, and it will match it up, and you won't have barely any quality loss when rendering. So I'm just going to click the new Call of Duty commentary I just did, and it will automatically match the settings to the commentary. Now, I'm going to click cancel because I don't want to do anything just yet. I'm just going to click Control New again and click OK. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is about the timeline. Right? The timeline is the little bar at the bottom here below the project media and the video preview. Now, the timeline may not look like anything. If you've used Windows Movie Maker, you probably know what the timeline is and what it's used for. It's used for organizing video and audio. It's pretty easy to use if you get the hang of it. It's pretty easy. A few tips about the timeline is that you can insert video and audio tracks by right-clicking and inserting an audio or video track. Now, if you don't feel like right-clicking, you can use the keyboard shortcut Control-Q to add a audio track and Control-Shift-Q to add a video track. So I'm going to add both. And another tip about the timeline is you are able to shrink a bunch of things, so you can enlarge them, you can make them smaller, based upon the plus and minus signs on the looks like X and Y axis. So the next thing I want to talk about is the inserting video into Sony Vegas. Now this is pretty easy. All you need to do is go up to the top here, right beside this Thunderbolt, right next to it on the right, it'll say Import Media. Now that's what Project Media comes in. It is used for organizing your media that you've imported into Sony Vegas. So I'm going to import once again the Call of Duty commentary that I did. And all you want to do for the video is drag and drop it onto the timeline, or right click and say add a timeline, but that's okay, we're just going to drag and drop because it's much easier. So just left click, drag it over to the timeline, and drop it. Now as you can see, my video is in there once again, and I do in fact have the wrong video settings or the project settings for this video because it is in 720p instead of 720 by 480, which is 480p. So we're going to go up and change the project's settings just to match the video, like I said earlier, and click Apply, and we'll get rid of the black bars. It's easy as that, pretty easy. Now, the next step and final step that I will be talking about today is rendering video. Now, this is probably the most difficult part about Sony Vegas if you don't really get video. Now, the next thing you want to do if you really want to render a video, go to File and go to Render As. There is no shortcut for Render As, so you're going to have to go to File. And you will come up with a box that you probably won't know what to do. Now, some people know about the video formats of WMV or AVI or MP4. Personally, I like main concept AVC/AAC, which is actually an MP4. It's just a more sophisticated way of saying MP4. This could be difficult for some people that don't know what their camera's variable bitrate is. My variable bitrate for my camera is about 4 megabytes per second. Yes, 4 megabytes per second. And my Hauppauge HD PVR is about 14 megabytes per second. It's actually 13.5, but Sony Vegas only does 14. So go to custom and make sure you adjust the video settings accordingly to your camera's specification. Look on the box that your camera has. So most cameras nowadays are obviously 1280 by 720, which is an HD camera. It's not full HD, but it is HD, and the frame rate is about 29.97, which is NTSC. If you're PAL, select the other one, which is I think 25. Yes, 25 frames per second. But moving on, we're moving on to the variable bitrate now. The variable bitrate for my camera, as I said, is 4 megabytes. So you want to click the 4. Well, if you have the same camera as I do, I own a Sony Webby camera, but anyway, just make sure you select the right settings accordingly to your camera or from your video source. So this is for my Hauppauge HD PVR. So I will be going to do 60 frames per second, and I'm going to do 14 megabytes for the variable bitrate. And we're going to go back to the audio now, and we're going to have a look at the audio. YouTube doesn't have very good audio codecs, so I'm just going to leave the audio as is and not inflate the size of the video file, excuse me. Now we're going to go back to project, and this is what you really want to pay attention to, the video rendering quality. You want to select that at best, always best. You always want to have that best because it'll turn out the best quality, crisp, clear, depending on your video source. Now once you're done with this template, you can save it. You have the option of saving it. As you can see up here, template, this is my Hauppauge HD PVR template. All you have to do is type in a new name, I don't know, say YouTube HD, something like that. It doesn't really matter what you name it, YouTube HD, and all you have to do is click this little floppy disk here to save the template. And that's pretty much it, guys. All you need to do is name your file and click save, and you're done. So this has been the first episode of Sony Vegas Basics, and I hope this was informative, educational, and I really hope this helped you out, guys. If you have any more questions or concerns, leave them in the comment section below and I'll get to you ASAP. Anyway, guys, I'll be seeing you guys in the next Video Basics tutorial, and have a nice day.